Wait. It's about damn time. If you've seen any of my recent, when I say recent, I'm using that word to its most possible broad extent, DLC reviews for Warhammer 3, you know that I'm a pretty massive critic of the recent price structure that they've taken. The price went massively up and they justified this by saying it's 3 Lord packs, there's more detail than ever, there's so many mechanics and units, and to me, and seemingly most other players based on the Steam reviews, this hasn't really landed well yet. But for Thrones of Decay, things are seemingly changing with a new pricing structure, less aggressive marketing, and better communication from CA. So, let's go through this new blog and I'll give you my thoughts on this new pricing structure and everything that they've laid out for us here. And just in case I get too harsh, don't target anyone at CA over this. I'm certainly not doing it. The people that you can talk to at CA have literally no, the people I talk to at CA have literally no say in any single part of this. These decisions are always made by Sonic the Hedgehog. So if you want to shout at someone, just get your Switch and do it instead. And yeah, since I'm posting this as the blog comes up, that means I'm in the new partner program. You can't stop me from shilling. So if anyone at CA happens to be watching this, know that this, even if I get heated, is coming from a place of passion and love for the game and the franchise. I want it to be great. I don't want to be making these videos where I'm angry. I want to be making videos where I'm excited out of my mind, creaming my pants at the next DLC. So, honestly, since Warhammer 3 launched, I've really fallen out of love with this game and with this series. This used to be one of my favorite games. I was just playing constantly, even if I wasn't recording a video. Now I literally only open it to make videos for it. Please, can we all just work together to get this game back on track to where we know it can be, and we can all fall back in love with this series and just pretend that this was just a little bump in the road. So, point the first, made in this blog, the DLC won't be on sale and the trailers won't contain so much buy now wordery until all the info of the DLC is actually live. Now this is only a good move. I don't have any complaints about this, surprisingly enough. Yeah, the buy now stuff from the last DLC was way too aggressive. Every single trailer, every single Mac, every single thing that came out for Shadows of Change when it was launching, it was just like, buy now, pre-order now, pre-order now. The link's fucking everywhere. It's like, but believe me, I get trying to promote stuff. You know, check out Holy, use my code. I'd really appreciate it. But you've got to be like, I need all the info about this DLC before you tell me to buy it. You can't say, hey, Shadows of Change is the next DLC you've taught what Warhammer 3 is coming out with. No images and no information. Do you want to buy it? And shockingly enough, people did, but those people need to learn their own lessons. So, first point they've made, I'm completely on board with it. Less buy now until the information is actually out there. I mean, you have to tell people to buy it eventually, but as long as they leave that until, like, at least the trailer's out, or at least some gameplay or something, some information about the DLC is out, that's just fine. You know, people need to buy it and they need to tell people to buy it. That's just life. Point the second, this DLC will have a pricing structure completely unique to itself. So my first question about this is, are they going to continue the 3 Lord structure pack, however you want to word it, or are they going to go back to 2 Lord packs, which is what I personally think that they should do. Now, the word in here and later kind of sounds like they're trying to gauge the community reaction from this DLC before deciding if this is something that they're going to do in future, or if this is just going to be a one-off, because Thrones of Decay, I think, like, I have no information about this. My assumption is that Thrones of Decay was mostly finished, or like mostly, like, the stuff was done, like you can't, without redoing the entire DLC, it was pretty much like in that phase where they're just finishing it and, you know, refining it, making it into an actual playable experience. That was probably done by the time Shadows of Change came out. So they didn't have time to like completely remake the DLC. That just way too much money. But for the future DLCs, they can change the plans based on this one, because I imagine they're hanging fire since, you know, CA's basically on fire. By the way, anyone affected by layoffs, that is fucking awful. 2 sets of layoffs in 1 year. CA's been gutted. You know, I'm here and I'm shitting on the decisions being made by the business people who are not facing any consequences. I think it's disgusting that there's this many layoffs, but yeah, that is fucking awful. So none of this is about that. Just thought I'd drop it in there while I'm talking about this. But yes, that kind of got away from me. What was I on about? So anyway, yeah, they're going to gauge community reaction from this DLC and use that to decide if they're going to do this pricing structure in future. So I encourage you to vote either way. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm going to tell you what I think, but you don't have to vote with me. You can vote for yourself. That's part of, you know, democracy in the free world and all that bullshit. But vote with your wallet. If you like the new pricing structure, buy into it. If you don't like the new pricing structure, don't buy it. Just wait. These DLCs come on sale all the time. Granted, the sales aren't as they used to be, but if you leave it like a year, if you can wait that long, then the DLC will come on a decent enough sale and you can pick it up way cheaper than you normally would. Now, as I said, personally, I prefer that they would go back to 2 Lord Pack DLCs for a number of reasons. First of all, the most selfish reason, frequency of DLC releases. When Warhammer 3 first launched, we were expecting 3 or 4 DLCs a year. This was like, you know, direct from CA's mouth, as it were. They were telling us 3 or 4 DLCs a year. We were like, what the? That's crazy. That's never happened before. And, you know, it's going to be in, presumably in Immortal Empires. We didn't even know. Fucking hell. Forgot that was a whole saga. 6 months without Immortal Empires. But, yeah, we were thinking that that was going to be the thing, and there was going to be so much DLC. It has been just over 2 years since the DLC released, and we have 3 post-launch DLCs, not counting Blood or the pre-Ogre bonus. So smaller packs presumably means faster releases, which means more stuff for everyone to play and more stuff for me to make videos on. You know, you think it's boring playing the game when there's not been a DLC or an update for like 6 months? Try making videos on it. It's just as boring, if not more. Those 6-month gaps make the game so stale for everyone to play, everyone to make videos for, so spicing things up more frequently can only be a good change. As long as I don't completely brick the game, it can only be better. Secondly, price-wise, I'd like these DLCs to be much cheaper than they are. Ignoring the pricing changes, which are below this and we're going to come to shortly, the 3 Lord packs are just way too expensive, and I think even if they brought them down to like the minimum price they could ask for, it's still going to be too expensive for what is a DLC. Now, this is coming from someone that spends way too much money on video games, so the thing that about them is that I always pick them up super cheap. Like, I don't buy anything if it's like more than 50% off. Like, I've bought 2 games at full price that I can remember in recent memory. Baldur's Gate 3 and Helldivers 2. Nothing else I buy for even close to full price. But these things are way too expensive at full price, and honestly, even at 50%, they're kind of pushing it. Warhammer 3 DLC is getting crazily expensive for what you're getting, because at the end of the day, it's just a DLC pack to play in the same game. Sure, there might be a couple of new units, maybe a new mechanic or 2, and obviously, you know, the new lords, but at the end of the day, it's like the same game. It's not that different. Like Monster Hunter, Frostworld, Frostborn, whatever it is, the Ice one, that is like a whole new expansion, basically like a mini game inside of a game. That deserves to be quite an expensive DLC because it's a massive expansion. But this is just a Lord pack. This is just little changes. So having 3 Lords is inherently going to be more expensive than 2 Lords, so if they drop it down to 2 Lords, it might be more affordable. So is my theory. And yes, there's inflation and all that stuff, and game prices haven't risen for decades. Like in 1841, you could get Mario minus 638 for the N61 for £58, and then today you get Mario and it's still £58 for some reason. 6 months after release, Nintendo just doesn't discount their first party games. It's crazy. But you're telling me that you would rather have Shadows of Change, even post update that they done, which granted did improve the game somewhat. I know I didn't really mention it on the actual channel. I did mention it in a podcast, but it has improved it quite a lot. You'd prefer one of those DLCs with everything added to it right now, rather than 2.5 Silence and the Furies, which, you know, was kind of a banger DLC. And that only came out like 7 months before, and Koof had already happened. I know that the other things in the world hadn't quite kicked into action yet, but still, stuff was going on. Inflation was on the rise, and they weren't ridiculously expensive. You're telling me like 7 months, inflation has risen by like 700,000%. I know my mortgage looks that way, but goddamn, this is a video game. So now, as I said, the new stuff they added was nice. You know, there was more units, and that's all well and good. But if you ask me, the last DLC is still pretty mid, because I value mechanics way more than new units. New units, you'll use them. If you're doing a lot of auto-resolving like me, you'll probably see them maybe like once or twice in a campaign, if that, especially if they're not late game units, like a lot of the, or a couple of the new editions were. Sorry. Mechanics to me are way more important, and mechanically, this DLC is so mid. So coming back to the 2 Lord packs, they take less time to make, so can be sold for a smaller price and actually be microtransactions, because that's what DLC should be. Micro meaning small, not big. That's macro. The very last reason to go back to the 2 Lord packs is that I love the rivalries in the DLC. I swear someone else has talked about this. Maybe it's Cody. I feel like someone's talked about this either with me or on something else. But every pack, it was the dude and the guy, and they had this cool rivalry in the campaign. Their objectives were to take each other out. I always felt like there was a very set narrative. You knew what was going to happen. It's like Prophet and the Warlock. Okay, that's it. I'm going to play as Icky Claw, and I'm going to nuke this lizard into next week, or I'm going to be this lizard. I'm going to try not to get nuked. It was a rivalry. But with this 3 Lord pack, they just didn't really have a story that was connected at all. And, you know, some people might prefer that, but me personally, I just thought that was way lamer. You tell me that the lizard versus the rat is less fun than Mother of Stankia fighting the Empire? I think if you listen very carefully, you can still hear Monsters Abound shouting about that one, because it's ridiculous. Marcus Wolfheart and the Hunter and the Beast, for God's sake. Hunting down Decay with that awesome final battle. I've completed that campaign and played it multiple times. I've completed like 2 or 3 Realms of Chaos or whatever, like story campaigns in my time playing this game, because I get bored super easily. That one is a fucking banger. So go back to those 2 Lord packs, because the rivalry is just so much more fun. I don't know, and I don't care about the lore. Just make it up. Just like say, oh, this guy hates each other. It's Warhammer. Everyone hates each other. Just make something up. Make them rivalries. It's more entertaining. Moved on to the new pricing. So you'll still be able to buy the entire DLC, or you'll have the option of buying each individual lord and their factions, which presumably gets you all the new units, all the new mechanics, but just for that specific lord, which, fair enough, we'll come to the pricing. Full pack, £19.10. Each individual Lord is £7.49. Then that gets you a 15% discount on the other pack. So if you buy one and then decide, you know what, I want to pick up the other two, 15% off. So if you bought all three this way, it'd be £1 more expensive than getting them all together, which, you know, whatever. And they've also said that larger packs with higher price tags aren't what they think the community wants. So either they're going to go with this individual pricing scheme in future, or they're going to drop it down to 2 Lords like I'm desperately praying for, not playing for. But I'm not playing this game, god damn. And lastly, this pricing scheme may continue in future if it is well received. So as I said, vote with your wallets. So now, for this new pricing system, I have a lot of thoughts. Like, I'm looking at my bullet points here. I've got almost like a full page of bullet points about this. So first of all, the main pack has been discounted a whole 89 pence. Oh, CA, you're my best friends again. It's still so expensive. That is so expensive. That's nearly £20 for a fucking DLC. There are so many games you can buy for like £20 or under, even off sale, that are worth more than a DLC for goddamn Warhammer 3. What the fuck is the world where £20 a DLC? I can't get over it. Now, the splitting things up, I have mixed feelings about. Now, first of all, I think buying the factions that you care about is a great concept. There's a few past DLCs that I know that many people, like the Queen and the Crone, everyone just wanted Alariel and the Sisters of Avalon. No one really wanted Crone Helbron and whatever she brought. So, splitting it up, I don't really have a problem with that. However, I can't help but feel like they're being split up and then they have these prices that are not much lower than previous 2 Lord packs. It's just to maximize possible sales, because if there's someone on the fence about, oh, I don't really want the full packs, I don't want him, and I don't want him, but I want that one, or her, or whatever the fuck you want to call them, I'm just going to buy that one. It just gets you more money, because like instead of getting £0 from this guy who only wanted 1 Lord, you're getting £7 from him. So it feels very scummy, even though it's kind of trying to come off as a good thing because the pricing is still so damn high. If each of these Lords was like £5 and then the DLC in itself was £15, I probably wouldn't be that bothered. But it just feels like they're trying to milk every little bit of cash hole that they can out of us. So on top of this, the 15% discount being more expensive overall, it just seems like they want people to dip their toes into this DLC, think, oh, I'm just going to try this person because they're who I want to play the most. And like, you know what, this person, if they're pretty good, I'm going to pick up these other 2 people. And then they just end up getting all the money in like £1 extra anyway. The only way that this works is if this DLC is a fucking banger. I'm not ruling it out. You know, I'm rooting for you, CA. If you make this DLC a banger and it's worth £7, I will happily eat my words. Once I can play it and give you a full review, I will do that. And I will be so happy to eat my words, but I'm just so extremely skeptical because at that price, it's going to have to be so good. The mechanics are going to have to be so good. The reworks are going to have to be so good. We haven't even mentioned that the DLC for the last one just brought no fucking reworks, despite saying that there are reworks, that's hard to say a lot of times fast, reworks coming. So this DLC needs to have good mechanics, needs to have good units. I'm assuming they're going to go for like the same amount of units that they had in the Shadows of Change update. So hopefully they do that, because if not, Jesus Christ, Total War is so dead. Yeah, need all the new units, need all the new mechanics, need the reworks. It just needs to be a super high quality DLC to even for me to think about it being worth that price. So, in conclusion, the idea is good. The price is still bad. It's so high. Am I complaining about the sake of £2 per Lord? Yes, I am. This is what my life has come to. Now, the second to last point that gets made in this blog post is that they are apparently, allegedly, deep into pre-production for the next DLCs, so the game's not dead yet. Then again, Hyenas was like 1 day away from coming out before it got taken out back and shot, so anything could happen. Now, while I don't doubt that pre-production is going on for the next DLCs, I don't really... that doesn't mean anything to me. This DLC feels extremely make or break for Warhammer 3. They are trying everything they can to get the community back on their side and get as many sales as possible and just try to save the game. It feels like if this DLC fails, Warhammer 3 probably fails with it. And as I said, I'm rooting for CA, I'm rooting for this DLC, I want it to be good. I want this game to be as good as I know it can be. I want to fall back in love with that game that I was playing when I was having panic attacks, when I was like 17. This is not a game that this game is something that I play and it gives me a panic attack because of how much it stresses me out. So that thing about pre-production, it doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't guarantee that there's future content. They could easily just can it if this DLC doesn't do very well, and I could see that happening. I don't want it to happen, but I could see it happening. I really desperately hope that this DLC blows Shadows of Change out of the water and is worth that price, because if it isn't, oh boy, are we all in trouble. And speaking of DLC, the last thing in this blog post is that DLC news is to come next week. And once it does, I'll obviously be posting regular DLC related content. So, subscribe if you want to see that, including a review. As I said, as soon as I'm allowed, the review is going to be my #1 priority, getting that as locked in as possible and telling you if this DLC is worth it. And honestly, if this DLC can save Warhammer 3, because that's what it feels like it has to do. So and that is just about everything I have on this price split. I'm not sure if I'm going to be in the majority or the minority on this thing. I talked to the podcast guys and they were kind of mixed. So please let me know in the comments what you think of this price split. I'm really curious to know how everyone's feeling about it. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, that's fine. Just post down in the comments below, bro. It's all good. Oh, while you're there, also like, subscribe, and if you want to see how I felt about the last Warhammer DLC, if someone managed to miss that, then check out my scathing review from last year, because goddamn, that's how long these DLCs take to come out. Please be good, Thrones of Decay. Please.